Sure. Let me explain to you how your counseling sessions are going to work. Counseling sessions, you'll communicate with someone else who has a character. Um, you will trade counseling sessions with that individual. So you will be in your character when they're counseling you. They will be in their character when you are counseling them. These are the topics that need to be covered in your counseling session. Symptoms, this is from your history form. You will get information, and of course, you're taking notes. You should be taking notes. The current symptoms from the history form, past psychiatric history, if there is one, from the history form, and then social developmental history. That has to do with what's going on in their family or if they lost their job, something like that. From the interview, you should be determining this is the synopsis. I talked to them for 30 minutes. I talked to them for 45 minutes. The counseling session lasted for 45 minutes. We covered several different areas. We talked about things that um, we talked about problems that they are currently having that they weren't having before, whatever. Now, one of the things you need to know about your notes is that anything that you put in your notes can be subpoenaed by the court. And a lot of psychologists don't want select pieces of information to be uh, for the court to have that access to that information. So only put in your notes what you would want someone outside to know. Now, the vast probability is that you will never be subpoenaed for information about your client, but it's always possible. And if the court does subpoena you, you have to give them this kind of information. So you need to put only in your notes things that you would want you would uh, uh, information that you'd want to give to somebody else. Client strengths, of course, client's goals. It may take several counseling sessions before the client's strengths and goals are obvious. Your diagnosis, and the reality is that at some point you're going to need to come up with an idea of whether what they say is their problem is actually their problem. Now, it may be that they have another problem added on top of their initial problem, and this you need to talk about as well, and come up with a plan as to how future counseling sessions should be. One of the things that you always need to determine when you're counseling a client is there a potential that they will hurt themselves? In other words, are they suicidal? If they are, of course, you need to contact somebody. You need to put them on suicide watch. Is there a potential that they may hurt others? They may have said something about uh, going home and beating up their wife or their spouse or something. If that is a possibility, then you need to contact somebody, the police potentially, and to make sure that that doesn't actually happen. And then the length of the session, and you can use this form. This is on the assignments page, so you can find this form on the assignments page. Okay, the other thing that we need to talk about is that I only have 12 character histories, and there are 31 people in the class that are still in the class, I think. I think that was my last count. Maybe there's only 29. Anyway, most of the vast majority of people haven't done their character history. You cannot counsel, you cannot do the last portion of the class unless you have a character history. You have to be able to trade counseling sessions with the person that you're counseling. Now, how do I expect you to find out about how do I expect you to contact your cohorts, your classmates? I expect you to email them. I think you all have access to email. Maybe you know them. You can call them on the telephone. But you need to arrange for your counseling sessions by yourselves. If you're too bashful to do this, then probably counseling's not the direction that you need to go. But you need to attempt to counsel these selected the individuals in your class. And of course, you're not going to actually be counseling them. You're going to be counseling their character, and their character doesn't have anything to do with any problems that they've ever had in the past. So if you don't have your character history in, you need to get it in. You need to get it in before, what is this week? This is actually next week is, so this is next week. Okay, we're going to start the beginning of April. So get them in next week. I'm not telling you you have to have them all in by next week. What I'm telling you is you can't do any counseling sessions until you get your character history in. If you turn it in the last week of class, then you've only got a week to get 10 counseling sessions in. Is that going to happen? Don't ask me. You know, you put it off a little bit too long. The class ends the first week of May, I believe. So you have until then to get all this stuff done. I do not count off for late work. If you want to do everything at the last minute and you can get it and you can do it, then and you can find somebody to counsel, then good luck with that. But if I were you and I didn't have my character done, I would get her done before next week because it starts next week. Okay, so what are you going to do with your notes? What you were going to do with your notes is find the name of the individual that you counseled, and you're going to put your notes in that discussion area, the discussion area underneath the client's name. And that's how I will grade you. Now, I'm not going to say, oh, these notes are terrible. That's not how I grade you. I just want to know that you did your counseling sessions, okay? Everybody has their own technique. Everybody has their own gift. As far as counseling is concerned, how you speak to clients, how you get clients to speak to you. And I appreciate that gift. And maybe your gift is different than mine. I don't want you to have to be just like me. You don't have to be just like me in order to be considered acceptable. You, like I said, it really takes a village, and you never know whether somebody is going to be able to communicate with somebody. So all I want to do, all I want to know is that you did the counseling sessions, okay? And the way you tell me that is by putting underneath someone's name, you put your counseling notes, and that's it. I'll check the notes, make sure they're there. There's something there, and that'll be it. Okay. So good luck to everyone. Have fun with this. This should tell you whether you can actually be a counselor or not. Not everybody can do it. Some people think that they're good at giving advice. It turns out that counseling isn't giving advice. Counseling is understanding other people and being able to get them to talk about their problems. And if you have that capability, then more power to you. Then that's the direction that you need to go. Not everybody's a natural. Some people have to work at it. There is a formula, but sometimes that formula doesn't work. One of the worst counselors I ever met was a straight A student. She aced everything, but she did everything was formulary as far as she was concerned, and she was just terrible. She couldn't communicate with anybody. She became an instructor. What? If you can't do it, then you become a teacher, I guess. Anyway, she was terrible. Um, she was stiff. Uh, there, there was no genuineness in anything that she ever did. So she was really kind of funny. Uh, but she was a good student. She became a manager because that's what she thought she always wanted to do, but she was never able to to get her done. Anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and start the last lecture. If I think of anything else, what I will do is I'll email everybody. I'm sure I'll get this question from time to time. What do I do next? What you do next is try to find somebody who's willing to spend an hour with you or an hour and a half, and you guys trade counseling sessions, and you need 10 of them. So since there'll be 5 weeks left when we start counseling, that's 2 a week. You should be able to get that in. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the last lecture. Maybe not. There we go. Okay, boom, it's the last lecture. This is chapter 15, evaluating and ending professional relationships. Evaluating your progress needs to be continuous throughout the counseling process. This is something I do with every class. Sometimes I'm happy with the way things have turned out. Sometimes I think I did a really good job, but I just didn't communicate with the students. It just didn't seem to work. Other times, I kind of hemmed and hawed and bounced around, and the students seemed to do well. So you need to be constantly evaluating whatever it is that you're doing, especially in teaching, especially in counseling. Is this helping my client? I know that I speak to them for 45 minutes every week. Is this enough? Are we going anywhere? Are new things coming out? Before the first meeting, the practitioner should evaluate whether additional information is needed, information about the client, evaluate what level of expertise that will be needed for this client. And usually you will have an idea because you will have the client's history form. Sometimes, and this has happened to me over and over and over again, a new client has come in, and that's when I get to see their history form. And I'm going, wait a minute, they should have sent this to somebody else. I really can't handle this. But of course, you always gotta do what you gotta do. All depends on the situation. During exploration stage, practitioners evaluate if they have necessary information about resources needed. Do they have the expertise to work with the special needs of the client? And of course, this is normally when they get the history form in, somebody is doing triage, and that individual will decide who gets to do the counseling. I've been in a situation where one individual had expertise in family dynamics or whatever, or what was it, depression or anxiety, and they always seem to come in clusters. So it seemed like you were half the people weren't doing anything, and one person was just getting slammed, and I always seemed to be the person that was getting slammed. Okay. The practitioner needs to perform ongoing evaluation after each session is done to identify how well the clients think that he or she is being heard and to determine the strength of the relationship. And of course, this is something you should be doing during the counseling session as well. Is this working? Am I getting good information? Are they talking to me? This should be an ongoing process. During the exploration phase, the practitioner evaluates whether they fully understand the problem, situation, and issues of the client. During the goal-setting phase, practitioners monitor the quality of the alliance and baseline assessment of actions. Wow, that's a 16-ounce can of something. Monster? Yeah, that's not Monster. Monster's got brighter colors than that. During the action phase, practitioner and client develop a plan for goal achievement that is a blueprint to evaluate progress. After each meeting, the practitioner should consider whether the work is leading to the achievement of the identified goals. If the skills being used aren't helpful, the practitioner needs to adjust the technique. And actually, this has happened to me over and over and over again. With one client, this is working. With this client, it's not quite working the way it should be. A lot of times, it has to do with I'm thinking age. You treat someone that's closer to your age one way. You would treat somebody that's 20 or 30 years older than you a totally different way. And of course, the same techniques aren't going to work with both groups, both individuals, probably. And it may have to do with the way they were raised and the environment that they live in, and their expectations. If progress is being made, it is important to highlight successes and focus on improvement. Evaluation should emphasize progress to be supportive of the client and gratifying for the practitioner. If it's not working for you, then potentially you could potentially hand this person off. Now, the reality is that I've never been in a situation where I've been able to hand anybody off. So I had to change my technique. I had to change my technique to fit what the client needed rather than what I felt comfortable with. There are certain ways of counseling that I didn't especially like doing, but sometimes that's what they needed, so that's what I did. Demonstrating progress through evaluations demonstrates success. Success enhances self-esteem by showing the client that they can succeed. As self-efficacy increases, so does the client's sense of empowerment. And empowerment is actually what you're trying to achieve. A lot of times the individual is coming into you mainly because they have low self-esteem. Something has happened to them and they need to talk about that something that makes them feel so bad. And what you need to do is build up their self-efficacy. And by building up their self-efficacy, it leads to a feeling of empowerment. One of the most important times for evaluation occurs during the ending process. What was the most helpful of what you did? What did not work well? What was learned? What are additional areas for growth? Now, I've had clients that everything I tried didn't work. Nothing I tried worked, or they complained about it. And it's mainly because they were looking for power. They were trying to control the situation. So anything, I suddenly became the dumbest person in the world. And a lot of times that has to do with having a client that is being treated that way at home. They're being treated like they're the dumbest person in the world. They can't ever do anything right. So when they get in a situation like the power dynamic between a practitioner and a client, um, the way that they can feel better about themselves is to control the situation. And of course, you have to allow them to do that because they are actually gaining feelings of self-efficacy, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind being the dumbest person in the room as long as it's helping my client. But if you have too many of those clients, it makes you feel pretty bad. Scaling questions are an excellent tool to use for evaluating progress. They can be used in final evaluation with the client. If the scores are lower, the practitioner might discuss additional work that the client needs to do to accelerate their progress. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think we're doing? That kind of thing. That's the scaling question. On a Likert, 1 to 4 Likert scale. Ending evaluation, let's review our goal attainment continuum again to see if you believe you've reached the expected outcome. Sometimes they become dependent on you, and it's difficult for them to break away. But you know that that's the only way that they can become empowered. If they are relying too much on you, then they're not really fixed. Nothing has really changed. You need to break off that dependence. When we began working on reviewing the agency's policies on providing services to elderly clients, we identified several goals. In our next meeting, let's review what we have accomplished in relation to each goal. And of course, that has to do with a group. As you know, our final meeting will be 3 weeks from today, reminding the client of when the relationship will end. Before our next meeting, will you think about what has been most helpful to you? And of course, if you have made a connection with the client, then they will come up with something positive. Early on in this project, we established clear goals. I think we should talk together about whether those goals have been achieved and decide if further work is necessary. Is that okay with you? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being completely satisfied with where you are in the relation to this goal that we set, what number would you give yourself? Now, this is really kind of a tricky question. And the reason it's tricky is because, like I said, some people like to feel empowered or like to feel in control, not empowered. Empowered is the wrong word. They want to feel in control. So a lot of times they'll give you a really low number to make you feel not as good as you potentially should be feeling. But that doesn't mean that they really think that. It may just be a power trip that they're on. Now, like I said, one of the things that you need to do is to get them to evaluate themselves accurately. I don't know that I said that, but that's what they need to do. They need to evaluate themselves accurately. If they're not getting a good evaluation at home, if someone is trying to control them by making them feel bad about themselves, of course, they're going to be doing the same thing with you. So you need to take this whole scaling thing with a grain of salt. You need to be able to understand who your client is and what their hidden agenda may potentially be. I remember that when we started working together, you told me that folks in the family yelled at each other at almost every meal. You have come a long way since then. Let's spend a few minutes reviewing what you have accomplished since we began working together. Good practitioners are continually involved in evaluation of their work. And like I said, I do this with every class. I do this with every class, with every lecture. I try to determine if I'm doing well. As soon as I start determining that I'm slipping a little bit and I have had some memory problems, not being able to think of a movie or a name. As soon as I slip too much, then don't worry, I'll be gone. We'll let somebody else teach you this stuff. Anyway, but I do that with every class, and you have to do that with every class. Practitioners may elicit feedback about things they said or did that were helpful or those that were not. And of course, this is the Batman and the Joker, the Heath Ledger Joker. Clients can be invited following ending of services to complete a written form on their satisfaction. Evaluations can be reviewed face-to-face or not. Sometimes that can be painful. Receiving this evaluation information gives the practitioner information for helping future clients. Professional relationships end for a number of reasons. Sometimes they've run out of money. So the managed care is gone, the insurance money is gone, they don't have the funds themselves, they lack the money to do it, to pay for it themselves. Maybe you've achieved your goals. Maybe there's a lack of satisfaction with the progress they're having. They've done this over and over again, and they just can't get the outcome that they want. If you've ever seen the movie Good Will Hunting, that's exactly what's going on with Will. They're trying to find a counselor that can communicate with him, and he seems to be alienating everyone until the Robin Williams character, he is evaluated by he starts counseling sessions with the Robin Williams character. And I don't know if you've seen the movie, but for the first 3 or 4 sessions, neither of them say anything, as weird as that is. When clients leave unexpectedly, it is good to follow up. Ask clients about their decision to leave whenever possible to find out why. The practitioner should indicate to the client that the meetings are ending. The client and practitioner may decide to have less frequent meetings before the final ending. The client and practitioner need to summarize such things as what has been most important, what changes have been made, what was most difficult. Reviewing and remembering both the good and the difficult times in the process is very important. In the ending process for a professional relationship, the practitioner and client identify what tasks remain to be completed after the relationship has ended. In the ending process for a professional relationship, the practitioner tells the client that they can return for future meetings if needed. In the ending process for a professional relationship, the practitioner invites feedback about the entirety of their work together. At the end of a professional relationship, the practitioner asks the client if there are any final questions. Feelings, ending professional relationships, feelings about ending in a long-term relationship, the client and practitioner need to allow time to talk about their feelings. Some clients feel a sense of loss, sadness, fear, and anger. Clients may feel happy about their achievements and ready to move on. Positive reactions and pride in their work is as common as sadness or anger. I'm trying to find out if I've got a UPS guy here. Just a second. No, it's my wife. That's what the dogs are barking about. She's home. Feelings about ending. If the client has limited supportive relationships or is hesitant about their ability to continue on their own, they may express more painful feelings. Ending with groups can bring similar feelings. Practitioners may also experience emotions. As appropriate, practitioners can share their feelings, if it's appropriate. If not, don't. Saying goodbye, I'm going to miss seeing you and hearing about your progress. I am happy that you have achieved your goals. I'm going to miss our time together. I feel sad when I think about not seeing you, but I am glad that you are satisfied with the progress that we have made. This will be the last time that I see you. I am glad to have been a part of your journey as you figured out the best way to help your aging father. I hope that nursing home works out well for your father. I am glad that in our work together, you were able to mend your relationship with your brother. I hope that over time you will become close friends and support each other. I can see that you are really excited about the opportunities that your new job is going to provide for you. I'm so glad that you achieved your goal of getting a new job that offers you new opportunities. Ending with task groups and larger groups involves the same process as ending with a single client relationship. It is important to talk about when work will be completed. Work with the group to develop a thorough summary of what has been accomplished in order to stabilize future changes. Ending with task groups and larger groups, make plans for sustaining and building on the group's accomplishments. Develop a system for evaluating the work accomplished and getting and giving feedback. This should all be in place. Celebrating success should be included. Since next week will be our last meeting together, I think we should make a plan for how we will celebrate everything that you have accomplished. I've enjoyed working with each of you and will miss seeing you. I'm confident that you folks will continue to use the parenting methods you learned in this group. Identifying career-long processes. Professionals should participate in self-evaluation and evaluation of clients by getting feedback from peers and supervisors. Practitioners pursue ongoing professional development through participating in personal counseling, reflecting on your own values and ethics in your work with diverse clients, participating in lifelong learning to keep abreast of new ideas and resources. Create a career development plan that might include practice skills and knowledge related to different types of client challenges, different cultural groups, different size systems, professional journals, continuing education, deciding whether to specialize or not, staying current with evidence-based practice, keeping current with research as expected. I'm just sick of goodbyes. And that's it. Okay, if anybody has any questions, I have office hours every weekday, Monday through Thursday. Mondays, my office hours are from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock in the morning. Same thing with Tuesdays, 8 to 10. Is that right? No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. Okay. My office hours on Monday are from 3 to 5 in the afternoon, and same thing on Tuesday, 3 to 5. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, my office hours are from 8 to 10 in the morning. And that's 8 to 10, and 3 to 5 are Mountain Time. Okay? So it's an hour later here. So if anybody has any problems, anybody has any questions, visit my office hours, or we can make an appointment if that doesn't fit with your schedule. I'll be glad to contact you on office hours, or I will be glad to contact you anytime that you're available. Just send me an email and we can work it out. Okay. Good luck. Get those character histories in if you haven't done it thus far. And good luck. Oops, it's the wrong thing, isn't it?